I know what you're here for. You're here to learn some philosophy from your friend Bri from Shy, which is me, here at Shy-Town. So we are going to get ourselves back into the Socratic Ducky. Socratic Ducky, of course, is available. You can get it on paperback at Amazon, where all books are sold. And you can find the link for that and the free digital download at abitoforange.com. Go to A Bit of Orange, go to the free book section. There's the free digital download. But of course, if you want the paperback version, it's on Amazon. Welcome to Chapter 6, everybody. We've made it to Chapter 6. We're going through what I'm referring to as the metaphysical map. So that's in the middle of the, again, if you're on video, in the middle of the page here, the map shows that we start with God. He is the uncreated creator. He is the God of the Bible, and he's different than any other perceived God in the universe because he's uncreated and because he created the heavens and the earth. So on this map, I've got the word reality there. In the upcoming, eventual, updated version, that will say creation because God is real. So in that sense, he is part of reality. But what I mean is the real physical creation. So that was my fault. It's an old book. I wrote it a while ago. I'll fix it. All right. So where are we at? We're at reality and perception. All right. So God creates reality, by which I mean he creates creation, the material universe, but also spiritual universe, the things we can't see, the things that are not observable through material means, angels and demons, and who knows what else, our own souls included. But then we can perceive the creation. We can perceive a lot of the physical creation, not all of it, some of it. And we can perceive it accurately or inaccurately, and that's why it splits between truth and illusion here. So that's what this chapter is about. Chapter 6, the glass door experience, reality, and perception. What do pizza, magic, and the Jedi have in common? You might say, it depends on your perspective, but actually it doesn't. That's what they have in common. Let me explain. If you think about the metaphysical map, you'll recall this. Perception is the five senses gathering information about reality through contact with it, through your eyes, ears, nose, skin, brain, etc. In English class, we call this your point of view. You'd know that if you weren't so busy hiding your iPhone in your textbook to download games, but this concept is discussed in more places than in high school English. In Star Wars Episode 1, Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn says, "Your focus determines your reality." I have no idea what he meant by this. I suspect George Lucas didn't either. The Jedi spent the whole series saying inane things that made no sense, like at the end of Episode 3 when Obi-Wan says, "Only a Sith deals in absolutes." So either he's a Sith, or he meant to say, "From a certain point of view, it is frequently the Sith that deal in absolutes, which we as Jedi would personally hold to be an error, though we are reticent in passing judgment." But then we all just wanted them to get to the lightsaber fight. In terms of this chapter's main point, I shall decide that Qui-Gon Jinn meant to say, your perception determines your reality. And furthermore, I shall define this to mean he is saying your reality is created by your perceptions. If you think that's a stretch, all I have to say is, midichlorians. Now, it's true that your personal experience is determined by your perceptions. You experience what you perceive. Apparently, Qui-Gon had used the word reality when he should have said experience. Jedi are a lot of things, but they are not sticklers for metaphysical jargon. Reality has to exist before your perceptions, or you'd have nothing to perceive. It would be like saying, let's eat, and then let's go get some food. You can try to argue that somehow eating is your food, but you're still going to be pretty hungry when my stuffed crust pizza shows up and I refuse to share. You can't eat without the food, and you can't perceive a rubber duck without the rubber duck. Or can you? This is why the map branches off from perspective into two possible paths, truth or illusion. What you perceive, see, hear, smell, etc., can be true, accurately reflecting what is real, or it can be an illusion, something different than reality. This is where your unwashed, dope-smoking college professors or cult leaders will argue with me. They'll get all, no man, all perceptions are true. Now, before I explain why this is wrong, I want to point out the fact that they are arguing against something. In order to disagree with me, they have to first decide that there is a difference between truth and illusion. They are arguing for the idea which they believe to be truth and saying that my definition is wrong, in other words, an illusion. By arguing with me, they are agreeing with me. Need I continue? Well, I'm going to anyway. Can you perceive something which is not real? To prove that you can, I present for you a little something I like to call the glass door experience. It goes like this. You are walking toward what you perceive to be an open doorway. You do not see a door, you see an open passageway, and you believe with all of your little heart that the doorway is open and clear of obstacles. Then suddenly, without warning, you faceplant into the magical invisible force field of glass. Ow! As you pick yourself up off the ground, you come to discover that the door was there the whole time. Your perceptions were wrong. Leaving your faceprint on a clean glass door is a universal part of being human. I found that in a room of 30 people, it's rare to find more than 5 who would not have the glass door experience. In other words, all of us have believed an illusion and discovered the hard way that we had been wrong. Reality does not bend to our perception. Our perceptions, sometimes our noses, bend to reality. This is not always a bad thing. Consider magic shows. If you could not be tricked into perceiving something which was not so, it would be a pretty dull magic show. Here is a hat with a rabbit inside of it. Now I will pull the rabbit out of the hat. Right? And how could you pull off any decent pranks? You'd all be like, would you like a stick of gum that tastes like dirt? I mean, plus you'd never enjoy a movie. A movie is actually a series of still images played so fast that you cannot accurately perceive the fact that it is a series of still images. Your brain creates the illusion of movement because of its inability to perceive the individual frames. In some cases, illusions can be fun. In others, it's horribly painful. Why would anyone want perception to determine reality? Because it lets you play God. If God creates reality and your perception creates your own reality, then you get to be your own God. This really only comes up in terms of morality. A man will cheat on his wife and then try to argue that from his perspective, it's not immoral. He's trying to say, if I perceive it as being acceptable, then in my reality, it is acceptable. You won't find these people using the same argument to get out of the laws of physics. A man who cheats on his wife will still demand a parachute if you try to toss him out of an airplane without one. Oh, you can just suggest he simply choose not to perceive gravity, but he'll be all, give me a parachute, I don't want to die, I don't want to die. Adulterers can be real crybabies. In summary, when you see something, you can see it as it really is. In other words, you perceive the truth, or you can see it differently than it really is. In other words, you see an illusion or special effects. You're welcome to argue with me and stubbornly cling to the idea that your perception creates your own personal reality, but I'll be laughing my way through a stuffed crust pizza while you're wiping your snot off of a glass door. Don't worry, I'll save you a slice. That's what friends are for. That's the truth. All right, I hope you appreciate that. And if you were one of the people who's enjoyed and experienced the what I call the glass door experience, let me know in the comments below. Or, and I forgot this, we have an email address, creationsoapbox@gmail.com. You can email, actually you're emailing Wes, my producer, directly, but he shares them with me. If you got questions or comments, or you want us to know about the time that you face planted into what you thought was an open door, just let us know. We've all been there.
Jesus loves you is the message we send. Thanks for letting me be your rental friend. You're listening to Rent a Friend Radio.